when an elderly black woman requested a simple drink. She wasn't expecting resistance, but the flight attendant's refusal went far beyond rudeness. It was pure disrespect. Moments later, her son's shocking revelation changed everything. Stay with us to see how this powerful story unfolds, and let us know where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. The first-class cabin on the transatlantic flight from New York to London exuded luxury and sophistication. Wide leather seats with beige upholstery stretched into fully reclining beds. Soft lighting illuminated the cabin, while the faint aroma of coffee and freshly baked bread wafted from the galley. Evelyn Carter, a petite woman in her 70s, adjusted her scarf and settled into her seat near the window. It had been years since her last flight, and this one was special. Her son, Samuel Carter, had insisted on taking her to London to see the city she'd always dreamed of visiting. Samuel, a federal judge with a prominent reputation, had arranged everything to ensure her comfort. As Evelyn adjusted her reading glasses and reached for the in-flight menu, she pressed the service button to request a glass of water. A flight attendant named Lisa Morgan approached, her expression neutral but her tone curt. "Can I help you?" Lisa asked, looking down at Evelyn. "Yes, dear. Could I have a glass of water, please?" Evelyn said, her voice soft. Lisa hesitated, glancing at the menu and then back at Evelyn. "Water will be served after takeoff," she said dismissively, walking away without another word. Evelyn blinked, surprised by the abruptness. Why did it feel like her simple request was met with unnecessary resistance? As the plane leveled off after takeoff, Evelyn noticed Lisa attending to other passengers, offering drinks and snacks with a polished smile. Yet, she hadn't returned to Evelyn's row. Evelyn pressed the service button again. Lisa arrived moments later, her smile replaced with a look of mild irritation. "What is it now?" Lisa asked, her tone clipped. "I'd like that glass of water now, if it's not too much trouble," Evelyn said, her voice still kind but tinged with confusion. Lisa sighed audibly. "Are you sure you're in the right section? This is first class." Evelyn blinked, startled. "I am in the right section. My son arranged this seat for me." Lisa crossed her arms. "We've had situations before where passengers upgrade themselves. If you don't have the credentials for this seat, I'll need to verify your ticket." Passengers nearby began to glance over, some whispering among themselves. Evelyn reached for her bag, fumbling to find her boarding pass. "There's no need to treat me like this," Evelyn said quietly, her voice trembling slightly. Lisa responded flatly. "I'm just following protocol, ma'am." At that moment, Evelyn's son, Samuel, returned from the restroom, his sharp eyes taking in the scene. What was going on? And why did his mother look so upset? Evelyn's hands trembled slightly as she handed him her boarding pass, her voice just above a whisper. "She thinks I don't belong here." "Samuel," she said, her tone carrying a weight that made his chest tighten. Samuel's jaw clenched. He had seen his mother endure prejudice before, but watching her face this kind of treatment now, in her golden years, in a seat he had worked so hard to provide for her, filled him with a quiet but powerful resolve. He took a steadying breath, brushing a reassuring hand over Evelyn's shoulder before turning to the flight attendant. "Is there a problem?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying an undertone of authority. Lisa, visibly uncomfortable now, hesitated before replying. "It's not a problem, sir. I just needed to confirm she's in the correct seat. These things happen sometimes." Samuel raised an eyebrow. "These things happen? What things? Exactly?" Lisa faltered. I just needed to check. You know, standard procedure." Samuel's lips pressed into a thin line as he observed her. He had spent years in courtrooms cross-examining people and exposing their true intentions. Lisa's nervous posture and flimsy explanations told him everything he needed to know. He glanced around the cabin, noticing how other passengers had begun to watch the exchange. Some looked curious, others uncomfortable, and a few whispered to one another, clearly aware of the growing tension. He caught the eyes of a man 2 rows ahead who gave him a slight nod, as if to say, "I see what's happening here." Samuel turned his attention back to Lisa. "You've seen her boarding pass. She's exactly where she's supposed to be. So why are we still having this conversation? Lisa shifted her weight uncomfortably, opening her mouth to respond. But Samuel held up a hand. It was time to make a statement, one she wouldn't forget. Samuel took a deliberate step forward, his tall frame towering over the visibly uncomfortable Lisa. His voice, calm yet commanding, sliced through the murmurs of the cabin. "You've made an assumption about my mother," he began, his words precise and deliberate. "And that assumption has led to her being humiliated in front of an entire cabin of passengers. The real question is why." Lisa's lips parted, but no words came out. Passengers nearby had stopped pretending not to listen and were now openly watching the confrontation. Samuel turned slightly, addressing the entire cabin as much as Lisa. "This woman," he gestured toward Evelyn, "has spent her life fighting for people to be treated with fairness and dignity. She walked alongside the great leaders of the civil rights movement. She stood up when others stayed silent. And she dedicated decades of her life as an educator, teaching future generations to do better. And now, on what was supposed to be a peaceful trip, she's being questioned about whether she belongs in a seat that was rightfully hers." The murmurs grew louder, some passengers gasping audibly. Samuel wasn't finished. "Let me make one thing crystal clear," he continued, his tone sharper now as he locked eyes with Lisa. "This is Evelyn Carter, a decorated activist, a recipient of national awards, and one of the reasons this country has moved even an inch closer to equality." Lisa's face flushed as her mouth opened and closed, unable to find a response. The second flight attendant, sensing the weight of the moment, approached cautiously but said nothing. Samuel then leaned closer to Lisa, his voice dropping just enough to make the words even more impactful. "And in case you're wondering who I am, I'm Judge Samuel Carter, a federal judge, the same one who has presided over some of the most high-profile discrimination cases in this country. I'm here as her son today, but if this behavior continues, I'll be here in another capacity tomorrow." The cabin fell into stunned silence. Passengers exchanged wide-eyed glances, and someone in the back of first class began to clap, the sound quickly spreading until the entire section joined in. Lisa stood frozen, her earlier arrogance now replaced by visible shame. Her eyes darted around the cabin as if searching for an escape, but there was none. Finally, she stammered, I'm truly sorry. I didn't mean to offend anyone." Samuel tilted his head slightly, his expression unyielding. "This isn't about intent. It's about impact. Your actions embarrassed and disrespected my mother in front of an entire cabin. An apology is a start. But what will you and this airline do to make sure this doesn't happen again?" The second flight attendant, Maria, stepped forward, her voice soft but urgent. "Judge Carter, Miss Carter, on behalf of the crew, I deeply apologize for what happened. We'll be reporting this incident to our supervisor immediately, and I'll personally ensure this doesn't go unaddressed." Evelyn, who had been silent until now, reached out and placed her hand gently on Samuel's arm. Her calm voice carried a quiet strength. "Samuel, let it go. I've dealt with worse in my life, and I've learned that the best way to teach people is through forgiveness." Samuel hesitated, his jaw tightening. "Forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring accountability, Mom." Evelyn smiled softly. "I know, but holding on to anger doesn't serve us either. Let's make sure this is a lesson they won't forget." Maria nodded quickly. "It will be. I promise. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to make your flight more comfortable." Passengers around them chimed in, their voices a mix of support and admiration. "Miss Carter, you're an inspiration," one man said, clapping again. Another added, "It's because of people like you that things are changing." Lisa, still visibly shaken, turned to Evelyn. "I truly am sorry, Miss Carter. I'll make sure to reflect on what happened here today." Evelyn, ever gracious, nodded. "See that you do. Respect isn't just about knowing someone's name or status. It's about treating everyone with kindness, no matter who they are." Samuel sighed, his shoulders relaxing slightly as he watched his mother's poise turn the moment into a teachable one. As they settled back into their seats, Maria returned with glasses of sparkling water and a note that read, "Thank you for your grace. We'll do better. Evelyn smiled, her earlier unease fading. But Samuel couldn't help but wonder, would the airline truly learn from this? Or was this just another hollow apology? Evelyn leaned back in her seat, finally sipping the glass of water she had been denied earlier. As the plane soared over the Atlantic, she looked at her son and smiled. The fight never truly ends, she said. But moments like this remind me why it's always worth it. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a situation like this? Share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring tales of justice, resilience, and change.